lacrosse.com. Kyle Devitte of Inside Lacrosse Magazine now joining us in studio. And, well, Kyle, first of all, thank you for dropping by again. I know it's been a crazy last couple of weeks, but good to see you in one piece after those Baltimore riots we talked about last week. But you've got, a couple of charity events coming up next week down in Boston. The Shootout for Soldiers project is coming local, right?
It's going to be at Harvard. It's actually in June 26th and 27th, and Shootout for Soldiers is basically a marathon game. So it's like 24 hours. You play for, shift guys in and out. I would
hope so.
Everybody has a good time. It supports the troops. Shootout for Soldiers was started by Tyler Steinhardt, a guy from Baltimore, and he kind of set up this idea to do to help veterans. And I don't know, a lot of people out there have, especially in New Hampshire, have military ties. Like my dad was in the Army. My best friend from college is a Marine. A lot of people in my grandfather was in the Army. My uncle was in the Army. So I have a lot of ties to military stuff. So I have a real soft spot for helping out things like this and projects like this. I think it's really cool to get the New Hampshire. I thought I'd let the New Hampshire community know about it. I'm really supportive of it. I'm gonna probably go play in it. It's at Harvard Stadium on June 26th and 27th. All the information you need are at shootoutforsoldiers.com. They just picked up Under Armour as a sponsor, so and that's a big deal for like apparel, and Under Armour is making equipment and whatnot as well. So I thought I would talk about that first and let everyone know about that you can go sign up for that and check that out.
So anybody off the street can basically sign up and participate. Yeah,
I mean, you're really just there to help the troops. It's not really and a lot of veterans will be there, active and non-active, kind of playing to, it's just a tribute, really. It's just a great idea, great execution. It's going to be at Harvard after they finish the renovations, so should be great conditions. And like I said, it's June 26th through 27th. And another thing I want to talk about, there's a company called Rogue Lacrosse. It's a bunch of pro guys. Started they do a couple instructional things, but mostly they did this project for custom dyed heads for the military. So if you go to roguelacrosse.com, they have a bunch of heads that you can buy that were dyed by people that have done work for me at Inside Lacrosse and IL Gear. You can buy Navy SEAL head, an Army head, a USA head, Marine Corps head. And I'm not just talking these dyes aren't just I just did this the other day and it's got a couple different colors in it. These are intricate, awesome dyes, great. I mean, I bought one myself. I'm going to play with the Army head, as a tribute to my dad and my grandfather and all the people that I've had contact with in the military. And it's just a really great cause. If you get an opportunity to get something out there like this, I think it's always
and
good
where
to do
can
that.
you grab some of those custom heads?
You can grab those you can get them at roguelacrosse.com for the dye, but you can bring them to Sports Stop to get strung.
Okay,
which would be a nice twist.
And again, that's right down the road, 273 South River Road in Bedford. They do really custom stringing all the time. That's exactly what they really specialize in. Yep. So grab one of those military heads and get it strung right down there at Sports Stop. That sounds like a pretty good plan for sure.
Sure.
Again, Kyle Devitte is our guest from Inside Lacrosse Magazine for our weekly swag bag segment brought to you by the Sports Stop of New Hampshire. Guys, you guys have any experience with maybe getting a not necessarily maybe a military custom head, but if there's an occasion, coming up or some kind of a special holiday, have you ever seen that where one of your players kind of decks out the head a little bit and gives it some flair?
I used to do all my own heads in high school.
Did
you? You get the RIT dye and you get the bucket out, and it was a lot of fun. I feel like that was something that's gone out of style that might be coming back more and more.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody on my high school team used to dye our heads.
I used to work at Bryan in the early '90s, and that was the thing. Everybody had every stick would die. You would die like whether you played, if your team was the Canes, you would have the Canes across the number, right? I mean, every stick was dyed now, and then it was a trend. It started back, in the early, everything went to white. Everyone wanted just all heads were white, whereas 80% of heads stolen are white. But you're starting to see it. And I think it's more advanced, the technology. Kyle, you could probably talk about it more, but I could see it coming back.
I think it went out of style actually for a while because when they started putting warranties on the heads, some of the companies were saying, you know what, if you've done anything to your stick, if you've dyed it or whatever, we're not going to honor the warranty. And I don't know if that still holds true today, but I think actually that's why it went out of style for a while because kids were, you couldn't get your head, you couldn't get a replacement head if you had dyed your stick. So
yeah. Also, coaches sometimes didn't like it. I know I let my players do it when I was coaching, but if it was like some color I didn't like, I would just be like, "You're not using that." Like, give me that.
So it's the adults as usual that
Lyle Thompson. Oh, sorry.
That put the fun to an end. Huh?
Lyle was using a yellow stick yesterday.
Yep.
A lot of the girls players used the yellow or the gold stick because it hides the ball because it off the shot. That's why I think a lot of the boys, the men's programs, they all use the white with the white mesh because it hides the ball. That's what they play with, white. So I noticed that Lyle had the gold yesterday. With him, it doesn't really matter what color head or stringing he uses. The other thing is that it used to be 80 to 90% traditional, and now everybody has mesh. It's probably 95% mesh, whether you have String King, East Coast mesh, Ninja mesh, whatever it is.
Well, what's the traditional leather?
Leather, yeah. Which there's a lot more. You could custom that more to your style, but if one leather breaks, you have to redo it. There's just a lot more maintenance to it. If it gets wet, it's
hard to play in the Northeast with leather.
Yeah, and it's just
very hard.
Yeah.
But there actually is a movement back towards it. There's a guy actually in New Hampshire. He makes a little tool that you put in the head, and it holds the leathers so you can string it. It's called the Traddy Tree, and I think actually you can buy that at Sports Stop.
At Sports Stop, Roger Carrison, all right.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like $15. If traditional is expensive to string usually because it takes so long, so the stringer usually does it themselves, right? So they will, if I string someone a traditional stick, you got to be like my friend. You got to be like, or pay me like $30 because it is so intensive. And if you do one, the strings that connect on the leathers are called interlocks. You do one interlock wrong, and your whole head's ruined. I can't. And traditional is a lot of trial and error. And I love stringing traditional. You can't play with it up here that much, especially because of the weather and stuff and this season. But it's a pretty cool tool to check out.
Couple minutes left here with Kyle Devitte of Inside Lacrosse Magazine. What are you working on, Kyle, for the magazine here coming up?
We just went to print. Actually, I went around to a couple of bookstores yesterday to see if the issue from last month is up, and it is. It's got a cover that says "Offense Wins Championships." It's pretty cool. It's like a bold kind of statement we made. But the next issue we have coming out, I can't really talk about, but it's a very controversial topic. And
well, maybe that's next week. We can
next week we can get into that. But it's a pretty cool topic. And also in next month, I can tell you that I wrote about the top 15 players of all time. It took me 2 weeks in the MLL. It took me 2 weeks. It was the most intensive project I've ever worked on in my life for Inside Lacrosse or anyone else. So it's that's pretty cool. So
and that's coming out in this issue?
The next issue.
Or the big controversial issue?
Controversial. That's the best thing. It's coming out in the controversial issue
there you
that
go.
a lot of people will pick up if they see it on newsstands. And, the Offense Wins Championship issue is probably the best issue we've put out since I've worked there from November on. So I would say check that out. If it's, if your bookstore has it, go grab it. There's only a couple copies left.
All right, there you go. So Kyle Devitte, Inside Lacrosse Magazine. As usual, we appreciate the appearance here in studio. Thanks a bunch.
No doubt.
All right.